Once upon a time, two friends joined forces to bring you the best in horror entertainment. Brian from the north, Tim from the south, each bringing their own unique perspective to the horror community. Movie reviews, Blu-ray releases, beer pairings, games, and more. Welcome to your new home for horror. This is Civil Gore.
Hey there, everybody. Welcome to episode 143 of the Civil Gore Podcast. I am your host, Tim.
And this is Brian. And I know you guys have, if you've seen us lately in any kind of pictures or anything, you've noticed we're quite bearded.
Yes.
I say. And we'll get to that. It's our last first chop item, why some people noticed well, at least Tim's new beardness. They have not noticed my new beardness yet. But you know what? It's kind of like that. I've kind of had the thought process of like, and I don't mean it to sound like I'm giving up, but I'm giving up on if I can't get my hair cut by the girl that cuts my hair, I am not going to shave either in defiance of it. I figure I will shave when I get my hair cut.
I decided on April 1st, just an arbitrary date, just, start of the month. Sound like a good even date to start on.
Yeah.
That I was not going to shave until this whole quarantine thing was over.
Oh, boy.
And tomorrow, as we're recording, marks the 6-week mark of my no shaving. And that will tie the record for the longest I've ever had a beard.
Wow.
So
yeah, I don't even know when I decided to just not do it, because I know I had shaved twice during the quarantine. One full time because I was just like, I don't know. You have those days you just feel like, I always want to just take a shower. I want to feel as clean as possible. And I mean, it's like I still shower all the time, every day, but I just like, I felt like I had to just completely start from scratch. I literally did a full shave, but like unfortunately it was like after 2 days I was already had the everything coming back, and I'm just like, you know what, I'm done. What's the point right now? You know what, like, and it's funny, it got to the point of where my whole family doesn't even notice it anymore. Like, they used to always say, oh, you haven't shaved in a couple of days. But I think, like my brother in California, he's got a full beard going. My brother, Jeremy, he's got, I think he's a little more clean-shaven. But his girlfriend also, I think, might have given him a good haircut. So he has the luxury. Now, Julie offered, but I just told her I didn't want to do that, because God forbid she, if
oh man, Olivia did an awesome job on my hair.
She did on you. Yeah,
it was
I know.
Freaking awesome.
Yeah, and Julie's mom was a hairdresser, so she has it in her blood, I'm sure, to do a great job. And Julie, she's the fixer. She does it.
She would fix it. Even if she
would.
messed it up, she'd fix it.
She'd fix it. But I'm like, I don't even want to bother with it. What's the point? It's like, right now, what's the point?
But
if I have to go do anything.
I may keep my beard because it's weird. I feel like I get more compliments with my beard than I ever did without it. And I've had more people say, you got a face for a beard. Like, that's a great beard. I've had more people say that. And then, like, when I'm out, like, running and stuff, like, total strangers will be like, hey, how you doing? Like, they don't do that when I don't have my beard. It's like, it's a magical thing. I might have to keep it now. And
that's so funny, because you have, and I've known you for some time now, and you have one of the friendliest faces ever. Beard or no beard, but I mean, I can't believe that's a determining factor for some. Like, to me, I'm like, Tim looks friendly. He's a nice guy.
I almost think it's maybe because it adds some level of maturity to my face, because I don't know. It's weird.
You do have a young face. You do have a very young face.
So I wonder if it's. Like, I don't know. It's strange. It's been noticeable. Like, it's been enough to be noticeable that I get more, I get more positive reactions with my beard than without.
Now, just imagine you going out there. Like, you know what I think you should do? I mean, let have some fun during this time if you can, right?
Right.
Not that it's obviously it's a horrible situation out there, but the whole point is to if you can distract yourself a little from it. I think you should have fun. I think you should add something to your repertoire every time you go out. I think these are 3 supplies. I think should be the first 3 that you add to it. 1 is a monocle. 2 is a pipe. Not that you have to smoke it, just a pipe to look distinguished. And 3, one of those bowler top hats. I think
that would be awesome.
So. I know. I think you could pull that off. See, I don't pull off hats other than if they're like a ball cap. I really don't. I just don't pull any hats off. But I think you could pull that type of hat off, Tim.
Then item 4 would be some suspenders.
Oh my God! Yeah.
And item 5 would be a unicycle.
It, I think so. You basically become like the what's the cough drop? No, what's that? Oh my God, what's that? The Werthers? Or no, is it Werthers?
I don't
or what
know.
Is it, or Jay Watkins? Whatever. What is that thing? I don't know. But you're like you totally like be all of a sudden. You next thing you know, you'd find yourself on a bag of cough drops with that kind of like.
I guess
You know, you totally would. And I think your brother has that.
He does
outfit,
have. My brother has a unicycle for that matter.
Oh my God! And yeah,
and
so
suspenders. I could actually put this ensemble together in real life.
Oh my God! Okay, so I'm gonna let's put a pin in this for a second because when we get to our final first chop item, that's where I kind of want to I want to say what we need to do.
We're going to circle back around. It's going to be
we'll circle back around. No pun intended to the unicycle, but we will circle back around for this. But
okay.
But we should move to the first chop because we have been dawdling a bit, and I have an item that I'll throw in there too. That's not even on there, but it'll take 2 seconds. But let's go back. Let's kind of get this show on the road because we got a lot of fun stuff to talk about.
That's right. All right, guys. So here it is, our official first chop. All right, Brian, so the Hammer Project continues. Now, I was going to try to do 2 films this week, but unfortunately I could not track down Quatermass 2. If you guys know where I can stream this, even if I have to pay for it, I don't mind. Please let me know. My brief looking around today, I just could not find it anywhere. And there is a Blu-ray, but it's $22, so I'd like to avoid having to order it if I can. But I did track down The Abominable Snowman, which is next on our list. The Abominable Snowman was 1950-something. Looking it up, 57. And this was a black and white film starring Peter Cushing. And it's a movie about, as you might expect, a scientist and kind of a commercial type, expedition type guy. Get together to hunt down the abominable snowman in the mountains of the Himalayas. And it reminded me a lot of Animal Kingdom Expedition Everest because it has a lot of those same like set pieces, the flags and the Sherpas and all that stuff, whatever they call it.
It's got all of it.
It's got all of it, all that abominable snowman Yeti stuff. I can't say abominable because it's too much. I'm going to just call it the Yeti.
We know what he is.
So, which I still want to, I'm still thinking about doing an Abominable Snowman musical, and I'm going to call it Ain't Seen Nothing Yeti.
Oh my God, that would be awesome.
But
oh
anyway.
My God, can I help write some of it? I'd love to.
That's on the bucket list.
Okay, yes.
But yeah, this one is not great. I'm gonna have to say because you basically don't even see the monster until the last 5 minutes of the movie. The rest of the movie is
that's a way to save on the budget.
Yeah. Well, this was based on a BBC teleplay by Nigel Neal, who also created the Quatermass series. So it was Hammer adapting another in that same vein, and because it was based on a BBC teleplay, you can expect the effects and stuff were minimal because this was mostly. These were more or less basically stage productions that were being filmed for television. So you didn't have a lot. It's a lot of dialogue, very dialogue driven. So the vast bulk of this movie is very little action. It's people talking and discussing and then going to another room and talking and discussing. So in that respect, it's not the monster movie you might think of when you go, oh, a Hammer movie about the Yeti? That's going to be awesome. It's not really that kind of a monster movie. Peter Cushing, his role, he can phone these roles in. I mean, this is a role he could do in his sleep. So there's nothing really stellar about his performance. He's just awesome regardless. So it's kind of like, oh yeah, just another awesome Cushing performance. But there's nothing significant about the character that he plays that makes it, very remarkable. So while I enjoyed it, it's definitely not one I would put on your must-have for the Hammer series, and your time's probably better spent with the Christopher Lee stuff, the Draculas and the Frankensteins and that kind of thing.
Was that one released? Oh no, I'm thinking of that something of the snow monster, the Himalayas. I was like, when you described it, it kind of sounded like something we just saw on one of our dismemberments, but I think it was the snow monster of the Himalayas or something.
Yeah. There's a couple of them out there. I think it does have a release though. if I'm not mistaken. I'll have to check that. But yeah, go look that one up. The next one up I watched was a complete accident. I wanted to get a second film in because I couldn't find Quatermass. And I didn't feel like doing another one of the Hammer ones because I didn't really want to jump out of order. And I was just running through Tubi, which has just the weirdest selection of movies. And they had one called Gallery of Horror from 1967. And I looked and saw that it was an anthology, and it stars Lon Chaney Jr. And I was like, wait a minute. How in the world have I not heard of this? An anthology from 67 with Lon Chaney Jr.? I mean, this is awesome. I can't wait. 5 tales. And not only that, Brian, it's hosted and stars John Carradine.
Oh.
So I'm like, man, this is just, wow. This is an undiscovered gem. Well, I watched the movie, and now I realize why I'd never heard of it. One thing that I was thinking about when I was going to talk about this movie is we tend to look back on the past, especially these movies from the 60s and 70s, 50s, 60s, 70s, as they were all so great. But what we don't realize is there was a lot of bad movies made back then, too. Just as many bad movies as there's made today. The thing is, they don't survive, typically. They don't get put on Blu-ray, and they don't get to the streaming services, and they don't get mentioned in film historian books and things like that, so you kind of forget about them. Gallery of Horror is one of those that should have been forgotten about. It's really bad, and it's almost worth watching just to watch one of these movies with bad acting in it, because you don't typically see terrible acting in a movie from this time period, because usually the movies you're watching from this time period are classics, or they're at least good enough that they've survived over the years to make it onto streaming sites. This one, the acting is terrible. It was filmed in 5 days. I had to go look up the trivia of it. Filmed in 5 days. It's unfortunate because the anthology itself is really a neat premise. They go through, basically John Carradine narrates the beginning of each story, and he tells you the historic things behind it. Like the first one's about a witch clock. So he talks about the witches and the burning of the witches, and it's really fascinating. He does this long monologue about it. There's one about vampires. There's one about Frankenstein. There's one about zombies. So
how many are in here?
There's 5 stories.
Oh, okay.
And they're each basically around a certain monster archetype, which is super cool.
Yeah.
And but it's just so sloppily put together. The stories aren't terrible. They're standard EC Comics type fare. They're very predictable. But I'm just going to give you an example. Like there's one story which takes place entirely in London. They tell you that it takes place entirely in London. And it's the London police who are looking for this killer, and not a single person on screen has a British accent. They are all American.
Maybe it's maybe it's like New London.
Yeah.
Like in New England.
So like Scotland Yard, it's like Boston Yard.
Or New England. Maybe it's New England, I meant. But there is a New London also. But I meant like maybe they just got all kind of confused. It's New London in Connecticut, and maybe that's where they kind of got this idea from.
Yeah, it's bad. The dialogue's bad. The acting is bad. I'm just not used to seeing bad acting in an old movie, and it's really, really terrible. So it's on Tubi TV for free. I mean, it won't hurt you to watch it, and it is an anthology, and I enjoyed it for that sake. But man, if you want to just go see a bad old movie, if you're tired of all the classic, really good Peter Cushing movies, go watch this thing. One guy on IMDb even compared it. He said this should be ranked up there with Plan 9 from Outer Space and other famously bad films. He said this really deserves a spot up there. I wouldn't say it's
now
that
I want to
bad.
see it.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's that bad, but it's pretty rough. I understand why this one never makes the anthology list.
Oh,
Gallery
my God,
Gallery of Horror 1967. But John Carradine's fantastic in it. He's terrific.
Yeah, I mean, even as bad as it is, there's a lot of appealing qualities to make me want to see this.
Yeah.
Being on Tubi is one of them, because they're actually been kicking some butt lately with some content.
Fantastic content. I am just really, and the ads are so unobtrusive. I mean, just a couple times you'll hit an ad and that's it.
Yeah, there was something I watched with one ad.
Yeah.
I think that was it. And it was in the beginning, and that was it. It was done. And I didn't get and I was expecting the other ones. I think some movies, they depending on what the movies are. I'm wondering if they base it on what the cost was to get the movie.
Possibly, yeah.
Because I noticed on some of the lesser fare on there, like there's not as many ads, but who knows?
And it may be like the popularity of how many people stream it. They may cut it back. Who knows? I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we'll have to have some people from Tubi on one day.
Yeah.
And say, can you explain your model? I guess. But
well, Brian, you knocked out a lot of stuff.
oh my God, I was doing a lot of watching here, and there's one I didn't even put on here yet because it's going to be about when I talk about my project. But yeah, so I went. I did a bunch of stuff. So first thing I watched was, and this was cool. So I think I had mentioned a couple of episodes back about, if you're going to order on Amazon, you can kind of select your slow shipping, so they can make sure they get out all the essential items needed for, for first responders and such. And so every time I picked that, they actually said, okay, we were giving you, as a thank you, we're going to give you $3 credit. And I thought it was only for books, but it was basically a $3 digital credit. So while I was looking up some movies to watch, I saw that Exorcism at 60,000 Feet. And, of course, that stars a whole bunch of people, including our buddy Kelly Maroney. And so she'd mentioned it a lot and I'm like, I got to see this movie. We love Kelly Maroney. We got to make sure we watch this thing. And so I went and looked at it on Prime to see if I had to rent it. And it said rent $4.99. with a slash out, and it said your cost $0. So I was like, what is this about? And then I remembered it was because I have $6 of digital credit sitting on there.
Oh, yeah, you've been saving it.
So I'm like, well, there you go. Now that's what I'm watching tonight. So I watched it, and this is a wild movie. This is pretty much based on when we read that description. This is like, did not even prepare you for the craziness of this movie. This movie is kind of like if you took Airplane, mixed it with a horror movie, but then went heavy on, of course, the comedy. It's not the kind of comedy necessarily like, Don't Call Me Shirley kind of comedy.
Right.
And it goes like over the top with stereotypes and offensive. But the thing is I think they balance it out and offend every single person on the planet. So I think it's okay, Yeah. But that was the one we saw where we were all excited that we saw Han from Two Broke Girls was in it.
Yeah.
And oh my God, every scene he's in is hilarious. This is wild. In fact, so much so that I feel like they actually stole the soundtrack to Airplane. Like the music that is played throughout this movie. So that's got to be intentional. It's like got a who's who of some horror people in there. It is just like, but it's a fun movie to watch. I think so. If you get a chance, definitely check that out. It is. It's crazy. And like Han, like I told the guy that plays Han, and it is hilarious. And of course, Kelly Maroney's awesome in it. So definitely check that out. Then to go get a little more serious, I watched another one of Shudder exclusives, which was Z. Which was another one of it. It's funny. It's a similar, it has that whole imaginary friend kind of thing. Is he real? Is he not real? Kind of a motif to it, but done in a different way with a couple of twists that actually was really good. And it was funny. It was Julie caught that I was like, the actress, she kept saying, the actress looks familiar. And I'm like, I don't think we've seen her in anything, but it was Julie caught it actually. She was played she was in Final Destination 2, so she had some horror credit before that, but it was actually really good. Again, like Shudder, you're always going to get quality when it comes to their exclusives, whether you like it or not, and this one is definitely no exception. This one was really, really good, so if you get a chance to check that out, Z on Shudder. Not to be World War Z, just Z.
Just Z.
Yeah, and then thanks to you, I decided to watch The Lodge. Did you get to see it yet?
No, I didn't. I'm really looking forward to that one.
Okay, because in some way I'm glad because I want to talk to you about it, but I don't think I could talk to you the emotions I have from this movie on the podcast without spoiling it. So we'll just say, let's say, and I will say this, the movie was like a really, really well done movie, and I'll leave it at that. And I think everyone should watch it. And it's funny, after it got to me the point where I started looking online to see what other people thought, and a lot of people agreed with me. A lot of people just flat out hated it, but some people liked it but had the same reaction as I did. So I'm looking forward to, Tim, when you see this, we'll discuss it. I mean, maybe we even make it a feature, so we can really go into it, because there's definitely some things in there that I want to go over. But yeah, it's on Hulu. So if you guys want to all watch that, then we can discuss it. You can, or if you want to just message me, just don't let Tim see it. Yeah. Put a headline like The Lodge until we know he sees it. So if you want to discuss it. Next thing I do is, so then I watched a kind of a double feature of with an actress that we're actually going to hopefully have on at some point. We're going to try and see if we can have her come on in an interview. Lauren Compton. I discovered her actually in the funniest way. So it was on, someone had posted a funny video she did on Facebook about this kind of like a quarantine thing where like a dating in the quarantine little short thing she did. And she does, if you follow her on social media, she does a lot of funny TikTok stuff and everything. But then I was like, but she looks a little familiar. So I looked on IMDb and saw that she actually has a lot of horror movies on there. So I said, oh, let me, check that out. So I watched 2 of them. And the first one I watched, and this one actually was in my queue before this, just because it seemed really interesting. And it was CLOWNTOWN, which is a movie about, it starts the same kind of premise that you do. These 4 I guess college kids are heading to a concert, and they stop at a diner, and one of the girls leaves her phone there, and they realize that they want to get her phone, so they call it, and the guy says, oh yeah, I'll meet you the next town up ahead, and I'll bring you your phone back because I found it, kind of thing. So they get to this abandoned, creepy town, and it's overrun by like these freaky looking sadistic clowns. And while the plot seems cheesy, and I saw a lot of reviews that said, oh, I actually really like this movie. I like more than I thought I would, just based off of the plot, and it's there's a bit of a silliness to it, but something that clowns are creepy enough. It kind of reminded me of a clown version of Wrong Turn, basically. So that's the kind of vibe if you want to get. And it's on Amazon Prime, so you could definitely see it. Some of the clowns are super. There's one clown that freaking still creeps me out. I mean, I'm not like, clowns, like I'm not like crazy afraid of clowns, and like some people are, that like they can't even look at it. Like it's like certain clowns freak me out. Like Pennywise, it doesn't do it for me. Like Art the Clown, of course, is awesome and creepy and stuff like that. But like, it's like this one, for some reason, there's one of the main clowns in this. Actually, 2 of them are super creepy in this. So, but yeah, so it's that one you might want to check out. It's pretty good.
Oh,
I like that one. Yeah, the next one I saw was again. This one was also on Prime, and it's funny. This happened to be in my my watch list also, and I didn't realize Lauren Compton was in this too. And it was called Hellgirl. This one has enough of a twist. I don't want to go too much into it, but the basic premise is that there's this kind of ghost hunting TV show that always, I guess, gets hired by like a really weird Tom Sizemore in this. But anyway, so they get hired to go to this old resort kind of thing to investigate some unusual activity. And, they're one of those ghost hunter shows that, like, they're always accused of doing everything fake, which, they kind of reveal a little bit that they kind of do. But, and, they actually have along this one of these guys that wants to uncover their secrets kind of thing is along for the ride. And basically I'll leave it at that because, I want to discover it. I mean, in the end, I thought the twists were a little bit, I don't know. I don't know if it was a big enough twist, but still the movie was fun to watch anyway. Had some cool scenes. So, had some good characters. And it was funny because there was a kid in this movie, that you will notice right away. You'll say, oh my God, I know who that is. But then you can't place him and it will drive you crazy until you realize who it is. And I'll just spoiler alert. It's the kid grown up that played the little brother in The Blind Side.
Oh my God!
The little brother, the little kid. There's him, and he's old up, and he looks exactly the same, just kind of grown up. So it's like it's weird, but yeah. Again, though, it's definitely a fun movie to watch if you get a chance on Prime. Also, and it's Hellgirl. So I guess I should go right into my new project.
Oh, I'm excited.
So I'm not abandoning my Twilight Zone project. I will get back to it.
Okay.
But I kind of wanted to do a project that, just in case, should I not because we may be, our lease ends next year. We either renew it or we may not. But while I'm living in Amityville, I decided I am going to, and I know we talked about this, Tim, doing it as a summer staycation, being a full summer of it. But I'm like, I don't know if if the later versions will live up to a good summer staycation.
Yeah.
And so I decided I am going to do the Amityville project while living in Amityville. Partly, I will say, Kim and Ket kind of inspired it because they were discussing the house, and I had mentioned they did one of those things like which quarantine house would you live in, and it was like Amityville, the Myers house, this, and I said Amityville because it's only kind of down the street from me, and I already know all the good takeout places, so I can get food. So, so that kind of gave me the idea. I'm like, you know what? Really have not taken advantage of the fact that I live in Amityville. So, also, I'm sparing Tim this too by him not having to watch it. But I decided I will watch chronological order every Amityville movie. Now that counts like some of the obscure ones, and I'm doing a spreadsheet of trying to get every one I can. Even there's a couple where it doesn't even go by Amityville anymore, but an alternate title was Amityville, so it could have nothing to do with it. But I'm counting it.
I still want that list from you because that maybe it's on.
I did. If you look at it, it's called the Amityville Project. It's in my it's in the share drive of Civil Gore, so you can kind of see what I'm working on with there. So, and I've already watched. So of course I rewatched the original, which I hadn't seen in a while. And again, like it just shows what a great movie that is. There's that creepy that la 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 la. That music from the beginning of the movie.
I love Amityville Horror, and the burst of terror in that movie are so intense. Like when it does get scary, like it's very intense, like sharp bursts of terror. I've always remembered that about that movie.
Yeah, and it's like, it's very like it. It almost starts kind of as like a slow burn, and then just like you said, then just a burst of it. And I forgot how good it was because I hadn't really seen the original in its entirety in a long time. So it was kind of fun to revisit that was obviously, of course, that's where I was going to start, but it was really good to revisit that. And of course, who doesn't love Margot Kidder? I mean, she's just like, there's nothing I wouldn't watch with her in it anyway. So yeah, she was great in it. And I did notice something that I think any movie that stars Murray Hamilton, like you see his face, you just need to get away. Yeah. Because I think and it's funny that he destroyed Amity and Amityville basically with sort of his actions indirectly, or directly, depending on how you look at it. But yeah, and it just, I remember, like, it just is a good horror movie. And, and it's, even for the time, when like you could tell some of the effects were like a little on the cheesy side, but still it makes for one really cool. And I like, since it was the first, it really kind of, took I don't think they ever intended it to, that franchise to become what it is. Obviously after the first few, they went all like, everything, they just slap Amityville on it and go from there. But like some of the ones I'm looking I actually, you know what? Let me quickly bring up some of that spreadsheet real quick, just to kind of let you know what I have in for. So obviously the first three are going to be, or, the ones everyone knows, Amityville, The Possession, and Amityville 3D. Yeah. Then, after Amityville 4, then it starts getting into other ones like Amityville Curse. I'm sorry, actually, yeah, the Amityville Curse is like another one they did. There's The New Generation. It really was like following Friday the 13th at some point, I feel like. but some of the ones, there's actually I put on there the real documentary of it, which was the Amityville Haunting. Oh no, wait, sorry, that's not the one. I got it back. Sorry, My Amityville Horror is the one they were doing next to each other.
I haven't seen that yet. I want to see that one.
Yeah, there's that one. Then there's The Real Amityville Horror, which is a UK documentary, which I'm looking forward to seeing, which is actually available, believe it or not, on YouTube. So you can see that. Amityville Dollhouse is a really hard one to track down. You can buy it in a box set from Vinegar Syndrome that was limited. But for some reason, that's definitely one of the ones that a lot of people, like, it's almost like a cult following to it. So I'm really interested in that one just for that. And some of the other ones, like, I really want to see is the Amityville. Wait, which is the one I wanted to see here? Oh, the Amityville. This is the one that, and I think one of our listeners, the other David, actually mentioned that Amityville, It's About Time. Which is about a clock that's taken from the Amityville house.
I've heard of that one.
So I heard that one's really entertaining. So I'm looking forward to that one on it. And that one's actually streaming free on the Roku channel, so that's pretty good. And you don't even need a Roku account to get it. You just need to get the app.
Yeah, I've streamed stuff off Roku before.
So there are so many up here. The one I'm looking forward to is the one that Cone sent me, where it's the Amityville Island. So basically combines Jaws and Amityville Horror. So the two that I said seem to have this weird connection anyway, have now been connected. And then there's literally two that are in process, which is Amityville High and Amityville Cop.
Oh my god!
So I don't know what the heck that's about, but the last one that was actually made that just came out is Amityville Vibrator. I kid you not.
Oh my god! You really are going deep. Those are some I've never heard of before.
Yeah, so I am literally. I have on this list 32 movies on here.
Wow.
So, and that's not, there's a couple that I didn't include because they weren't legit. They were just episodes of another show. So I'm not doing that. I even have here The Conjuring 2 just for the opening sequence. And I have this one thing that I don't know if it's going to ever come to fruition. They're still working on it. It's called Witches of Amityville Academy. I think it's some UK show. So I don't even know if I'll be able to get a hold of it. But yeah, so I got a lot of stuff here. But so I'm wondering where it's going to turn after the first four, the ones that I've seen a bunch of times. So that should be interesting.
I would love to say that you're in for a treat, but I'm afraid you're in for weeks of misery.
Yeah, and that's why I figured also I'd rather just do that as a project and not submit Tim or the listeners to a full summer's vacation of that.
Yeah.
Not when we have so much content already for years worth of summer's vacations, to waste a whole summer on that. Yeah, I don't know.
Nice. Well, we had another episode of The Last Drive-In with Joe Bob, and I did get to watch the first episode, which was Brain Damage. And I had never seen this movie before, Brian. I actually really, really enjoyed it. I had never seen it before.
Yeah, it was. I hadn't seen it in years, so this was great that they showed that, so I could watch this again.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
This was a fun one.
Now, I did not get to see Deep Red. I just had to go to bed. I can't hang with Joe Bob into the wee hours.
Yeah, you know what it is? I was okay. I was going to watch it, and then I'm just like, you know what? I'm really tired, and this movie's over 2 hours, and it was starting after 11, and I had a long day, and I'm just like, I've seen this movie before. It's even I feel the Twitter action that night, it was waning after Brain Damage, because when you start with a movie that Brain Damage, well, that just, oh my god, the Twitter tweets and responses on that one are just off the charts. So it's kind of it takes a lot of steam out of you, because, and then you go into Deep Red, which isn't really one you're gonna, I don't know.
No, I don't know. Deep Red's a classic, and it's
hard to kind of really make fun of it.
Yeah, but it's so serious because it's a giallo film, and it's very. I mean, like I said, it's probably one of the most classic Argento films out there. So you're not going to have. I mean, people are going to respect that movie. They're not going to make fun of that movie, kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So yeah. I mean, I'm going to go back because I want to see the all the interstitials, but. And with, and plus with Joe Bob, just facts. I mean, literally I could watch just 12 hours of him just talking. I don't even need, the movies in there.
Right, yeah.
Because he's it's amazing his wealth of knowledge. I know, yes, the Joe Bob character is funny and everyone but you want to look at, we talk about film historians on here. I mean, there is not in my opinion, I mean, you want a great film historian, a guy who knows just a wealth of knowledge. You can't go past Joe Bob. I mean, he's so good with his stuff.
Yeah, I love how he goes down the rabbit hole, sort of like we do, Brian, except just not without the knowledge part. We go on these we go on these tangents, and we go down these crazy rabbit holes. But when he does it, they're always educational. And he might just mention some cameraman that worked on the movie, and then you go into the whole life story of this one cameraman, and it's always a fascinating, interesting story. So I always learn something new when I watch Joe Bob. Always.
Yeah, and he knows facts that no one would know. He's and he used to take his dry cleaning down on 6th Avenue.
Yeah.
It's how would he know that? But he does. And you know what? He's probably damn right, too.
Yeah.
There's nothing that he wouldn't tell me that I would think was a lie.
But
he's that good.
It was highly entertaining, and I am definitely going to go. Like I said, Brian, I did not make this a project because it's kind of my personal thing, but I am going back and watching all the Joe Bob interstitials. And the movies. If I had never seen the movie, I'll watch that too. But I went back to Shudder has all of these guys. They have every Joe Bob thing Shudder has ever done is out there. So I'm just going to kind of going back and just catching all the ones that I missed that I know I didn't watch.
Yeah, and I think even if the movie has been removed from Shudder, they've left his stuff. I think I read that somewhere. I think because someone asked and Darcy replied and
cool.
said that
That's good to know.
Yeah, and I think I think a couple got taken off, but they're putting it back. So yeah, so whether or not it's all there right this second, it'll all be back. So because Shudder doesn't let you down. Neither does Joe Bob.
No. Next up, House of Mysterious Secrets. Cool horror themed masks for your pandemic. And Brian, you've already ordered one of these, right?
Yeah, I ordered the Shining one, which was cool, and I sent over to our good buddies at KK Sam, Kim and Ket, of course. I sent them because there was a Burps Map one. Oh. So we know anything Burps Map, I feel like I need to send them. I need to look out for our pod buddies. So I always send them the Burps Map stuff. And yeah, you can get that. But the one I ordered, the Shining one, is literally just like the Shining carpet. So it's kind of cool. Like I can represent my horror cred, but only the people that are true horror fans are going to get my cred, you know?
Yeah.
Like, it's not like, I mean, they make the obvious ones. Like, there's ones with Michael Myers sitting on it. There's ones with, Jason and Freddy and like, basic obvious ones. There was one cool one I almost ordered, and that was the 3 masks from Halloween 3. That was the one I almost got, but I'm like, cool. You know what? I still think I want to go, like, I kind of want to get that, like, cool, like, horror cred one, like the ones that, like, if you're a big horror fan, you're gonna look at me and say, whoa, I can't see that guy's face, but I know he's a horror fan,
Yeah, I think I'm gonna try to order one of these as well. I can't decide.
Yeah, and they're pretty good too, like, because they're mostly they're custom made, so they're made to order. So you order it, you may have to wait a couple of weeks for it, but you know what, it helps out a place. And this place has got a really good. They sell toys, they sell shirts, they sell a lot of stuff. So you can it's a really good shop for just horror stuff. So, they have all the action figures we like on there. Yeah, definitely check that out. We'll put their website in the show notes, but you can just Google House of Mysterious Secrets. And I talked to the guy, messaged him on Instagram because I wanted to ask about the Shining mask, and he said, yeah, just order it on back order, and as soon as they're redone, we'll send it out. So yeah, so help them out, because it's always good to help out these online little stores right now, because I don't know, he could be a big store, I don't know, maybe I just discovered him, but either way, you like to help out people that are doing cool stuff like that.
Well, speaking of ordering stuff online, I made my first purchase and probably my last purchase at Forever 21. Now, if you guys remember...
Wait a minute. Weren't you thrown out of that store?
Me and Brian were practically thrown out of a Forever 21. We've told that story on the podcast before, but when we were in New York City, we made the horrible mistake of being 2 middle-aged guys standing in the doorway of a Forever 21 waiting on our wives, and apparently we were offending the clientele of this particular establishment, and the security guard made us move.
Yeah, and the funniest thing is, if that was when I think we were ordering our Chucky box sets.
That's right.
Online,
yeah,
were we?
Something like that. But it's So I have the distinction of I kind of didn't want to order from them just because of that, but this product, and I kept it secret from you, Brian, was just so cool I couldn't pass it up. Some guy on one of the horror groups on Facebook posted it, and they were like, "Forever 21 sells these now," and I was like, "I've got to own this."
Yeah.
It is a Shining t-shirt. And you go, oh, well, okay, a Shining t-shirt, that's cool. No. I've never seen a Shining t-shirt like this. And it was on clearance. So I think it was like $15 shipped.
Wow.
It's long sleeve, number one, which was cool because I don't have a lot of long sleeve t-shirts. And I kind of like to have those in my back pocket because when you're running and it's chilly and you need something on your sleeves, a long sleeve t-shirt. You don't want to wear a sweater or anything running. I mean, you gotta have something kind of light, but to protect your arms. And it is not the Shining movie. It is the book. It is a t-shirt of the book. I have never seen this before in my life. It's pure bright yellow, just like the original book was. And I don't know if you remember the original book cover, Brian, But the original book cover of The Shining is just pure yellow, and it's got The Shining in letters, and there's like a face of Jack Torrance in the letters. If you guys Google the original first edition of The Shining, you'll see it. And I just remember loving that book when I was younger. When I first read it, that's the copy my dad had, and this shirt is that book cover. So cool, so cool. I ordered it. It should be here soon. Once I get it, I'll take a picture of me wearing it and post it on Instagram. And yes, I know I shouldn't be shopping at Forever 21 because I'm old, but this was just too cool not to pass up, or too cool to pass up, I should say. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh, this is cool. I'm looking at it now. This is really neat.
Isn't that neat? Yeah.
I could see you in this, Tim.
Yeah. I think it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, it's not that bad, the price. You're right. Yeah, and actually, I know it's not on the list, but there's two items of product-wise I want to say. Is first of all, another thanks to I posted this. By the time you're hearing this, you'll have seen it on all our social medias and got a lot of likes on it already. Is my Halloween VHS cover blanket from our good friends over there at Coaster Radio for my birthday gift, which was early birthday. My birthday's not for a couple of weeks, so this was pretty nice surprise that I got it so early. And oh my god, I love this thing. And I just showed the picture, Tim. You saw it. It's like literally the VHX box are complete with like the little deteriorations of the cardboard on it.
Yeah, I want that so bad. They have a creep show one as well, which is super cool.
Yeah. And I've seen this before, and it was one of those things where I'm like, oh, that'd be cool to have, and I just never thought to buy, because these things, if you go looking on there's so many cool things you want. You can only get so many things, and so it's one of those things that kind of always got, like, oh, I need to get this one of these days, and so now I have it, and I'm like, I love this thing. So I already used it today. I was like, like just sitting there watching some TV, but like this will be my go-to now horror blanket. That I watch, when, gets chilly at night sometimes and put that on. I'm all set.
Nice.
This is awesome. And the second thing we have to say, a shout out and a thank you to, we knew that if someone was going to buy this, who would buy this first? And of course, that's our good buddy Cody, who bought she basically owns now the Civil Gore shower curtain.
Yes.
It is out there. It will be in. It's actually going to be in someone's home.
It's in the wild.
Yes, it's out there. So that is amazing. Like when I picked that, I was like, I know that someone will order this. We knew it would be Cody because she's awesome like that, and she did. She ordered it. She's ordered a bunch of stuff from our store, which is cool. So she always lets us know when she orders it. So that was awesome. So thanks again, Cody. And definitely take a picture when it's hung up. She sent a picture of it like as it arrived, but I want to see it hung up in there.
Yeah, definitely.
If it's actually ever used as a shower curtain, not just like used as a wall hanging.
At
or something.
Some point, I'm gonna have to buy one and just not tell Olivia and just hang it in our bathroom and just wait.
Yeah, just wait till she says. Oh, you'll know right away when she discovers it. I don't think there'll be much of a of a confusion of what that scream was, but yeah, and like that same thing. I kind of want to also like one day just trick Julie and put on my Phil Dunphy pillowcase on her pillow and see if she notices it before she goes to bed.
Oh, nice!
But it came with like one of the Modern Family sets. It's pretty funny. It's just his face on there. It's Phil Dunphy.
That's great.
Pretty awesome.
And then finally, we actually created a TikTok account. So
yeah. And that's again where people could see Bearded Tim for the first time that haven't seen
so
him.
I posted just as kind of a test video, really. I posted a 1 minute, because 1 minute is the max video you can do on TikTok. I did a 1 minute movie review of Dead of Night. So if you haven't checked us out on TikTok, go check it out. I'm going to try to post more 1 minute movie reviews on there. I thought it'd just be a fun little way to do something. We may do some sketches and stuff to put on there if we can think of something. So it's not really super active right now. I think my only like is from my daughter. So
yeah, well, no, Cody liked it. She commented on your beard.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay, so I'll have to go check that out. Yeah, I haven't even looked at it since I posted it, but we'll try to do some more of those if you guys like them. We figured we better get on the TikTok bandwagon.
Yeah, so much great content is coming from there. And I actually want to, one of the things I'm going to start to do is I think I'm going to start doing a series called Marvels of the Monolith, where I'm going to pull one of my prized Blu-rays off the shelf and kind of do a little mini review. Maybe not even just the movie, but of the disc itself. Like, kind of try and keep it to the ones that that I really like, are cool, that I love in my collection. It was funny, when I was talking to Julie about it, she said the first one going to be Paul Blart too.
Yes, yes, it has to be.
It almost has to
that's
be,
what
right?
When you first said, when you said pull one off of the monolith, that's the first one I envisioned you grabbing out of the, like you knew exactly where it was.
Oh yeah, no, I know exactly where it was. And the funny thing is, like, I really like at this point, it really should be in its own glass monolith case,
Yeah,
like
it
it should
really
be
should.
like separated. But it likes to be with its friends, like Paul Blart 1, because it likes to glom off like the actual successful one in the franchise. But
all right, guys. Well, that's it for the first chop.
real quick though, but that's what I wanted to say about the TikTok thing. So that's where you need to show your videos as you advance your new Tim costume. Like every time you add to it, you need to post a little video on our TikTok.
You're right. Yeah. Okay.
So I think that's what you need to work on. So that'll be like another series. But we'll have to have a catchy name for the Timformation or Tim transformation
that's right.
thing or whatever.
Oh, that's great. Yeah. So we circled it back around. We closed the loop.
Yes, there it was. We almost forgot, but it wouldn't have been the first time. But yeah.
All right, guys. So let's get to our main feature. We're doing one requested a while back from our good friend and fan of the show, David Terry. And he suggested American Mary from 2012. This is a Soska Sisters film. And I had not seen this one before.
Yeah, no, I haven't either. And I love, and I really wanted to see it. I mean, I always wanted to see it, but I really wanted to see it after I just saw their Rabid. Their remake of Rabid, which was awesome. So,
all right, let's run through the cast list here. We got Catherine Isabel as Mary Mason, Antonio Cupo as Billy Barker, Tristan Risk as Beatrice Johnson, David Love.
A lot of alliteration there early on.
Yeah, exactly. David Lofgren as Dr. Grant, Paula Lindbergh as Ruby Real Girl, Clay St. Thomas as Dr. Walsh, John Emmett Tracy as Detective Dolor, Chuan Holiday as Lance Del Grego, Nelson Wong as Dr. Black, and Sylvia and Jen Soska as Twin 1 and Twin 2. So,
I figured we had to include them in it, even though it was a small role.
Yeah, but they were so good in it. I loved it.
Yeah, they were. They were so perfect for that role.
The allure of easy money sends Mary Mason, a medical student, into the world of underground surgeries, which ends up leaving more marks on her than her so-called freakish clients. So when we start the movie off, we won't give any spoilers for this one, I don't think, Brian, because I don't know. What do you think? Should we do spoilers or not?
I mean, it's from 2012? I mean, it's 8 years old, and it's granted, I don't know if it's you don't see it coming pretty soon on anyway. So I don't know how much of it's a spoiler in the sense that we'll tell you, but I mean, by now, if you haven't seen it, just watch it quickly before you finish this episode. I guess.
So potential spoilers ahead. Just heads up. So, as we start the movie, Mary Mason is a medical student. She is actually sewing extra wings on a turkey, a raw turkey, when we open the movie. But we quickly learn that she is financially strapped, I guess you could say, trying to make her way through medical school to be a surgeon. And one of the first things she kind of runs into is she goes to this strip club and gets involved in the owner of the strip club basically pulls her in. He knows she's a medical student and asks her if she wants to make a quick $5,000.
It's basically because of her resume, and her resume comes back to haunt her and help her at the same time.
Oh, I'm sorry. She was I forgot that part. She was auditioning at the strip club to make money because she was basically trying to get a job there just to make ends meet. So he sees she's strapped for cash. She's a medical student. Here's $5,000 if you'll perform some emergency surgery on this guy we got down in the basement or whatever.
Yeah, not too suspicious.
Which she agrees to do, and this starts poor Mary's journey into kind of the underground, shady-ish surgery market. This emergency surgery she does attracts the attention of another lady who is, for better or for worse, she's a living Betty Boop doll.
Yeah, which actually was super creepy.
It's very
looking.
Creepy. I guess I was trying to
remind me of The Strangers, the mask, a little bit, like the doll.
And the makeup's the face prosthetics really, really well done. I was trying to come up. I was kind of struggling there, trying to come up with a good example. But if you guys have seen any of the extreme body modification, extreme plastic surgery type documentaries and shows out there where it looks really like doll and plastic like. That's what her face looks like. And as Betty Boop, she even takes on the voice of, and I think in the trivia, she modeled her voice after, was it Ellen Green? Yes, Ellen Green.
Yeah, from Little Shop. Yeah,
from Little Shop. So, she had that. I don't even want to try to attempt to do it because I can't get my voice that high.
Yeah.
But that squeaky New York, almost Harley Quinn-esque type.
Yeah, I wanted to go, doctor.
Yeah.
But she didn't do it. She didn't say it.
So she kind of she talks with that kind of that voice, and so she finds out about this and hears that now Mary's got this reputation for being this underground surgeon all of a sudden.
Yeah.
To help her with her transformation. She's got a friend that wants to do a kind of a real doll type surgery where she just completely transforms herself into a doll.
Yeah, that was creepy. What she wanted. I mean, I don't know. I guess we could. She basically wanted her nipples removed and her, her vagina basically sewed shut.
Yeah, so she's like as much as a doll,
yeah,
as possible. So this leads Mary down this big rabbit hole into extreme body modification, and she starts researching it on the web and gets pulled into this whole thing. And this immediately brought to mind, Brian, the Curiosities and Oddities Expo that me and Kevin went to.
Oh yeah, that's right. You guys went to
because
that.
They have a lot of that there. And the one great thing about going to that is I realized something I never known before, that I'm not particularly squeamish when it comes to body modification and even real life stuff like that. Because we were watching, they had like a quote unquote freak show up on the stage there during the convention where they had the guy come in and like skewer his mouth with the skewers, and he put hooks in his nipples and like lifted weights with them. And he did all this right on stage. So he was like piercing himself on stage. And it didn't bother me. It really didn't bother me that much at all.
Yeah, I learned from your telling of that I am squeamish.
Yeah. We had a girl that was in the audience that passed out while we were standing there watching it. And they actually had EMTs come rushing in.
Tim, you don't have to disguise it. You can tell everyone it was me. No,
but the freakiest thing there we saw was a woman did the body suspension where they actually put the hooks in your back, and then they
that's like Saw, but like real.
Yeah, and they suspend you off the ground. And me and Kevin sat there and watched this girl get her back pierced and suspended, and with all the. I mean, there is some pain. I mean, eventually your endorphins kick in and stuff. I'm sure it's not as bad as it probably looks. But we watched this whole process, and I was kind of fascinated with it. But it never made me squeamish, which is kind of surprising because I don't consider myself somebody that's like immune to like seeing blood or anything like that. But I don't know. Maybe in the context of it, it just didn't bother me. So this body modification thing didn't really make me that uncomfortable watching this movie. Maybe I've just watched too many freaking horror movies at this point.
Well, you know what? Like in a movie, like a horror movie, it doesn't bother me much. I think in real life it would have bothered, but this one like had some sequences where I was a little like the one with the split tongue. Like I'm like, ooh.
Oh yeah,
that's
cool.
I don't know how many times like if I bite my own tongue accidentally, I'll be like, ah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, and this person split it, and it's like moving two different ways, and I'm like, no, but
that kind of jumps us to another trivia point. I guess we'll go ahead and point out that they actually used a lot of actual body modification actors, or that had body.
Oh, I no doubt, because
you
just the way
that,
like
yeah.
there was way too like well done. Not that that Soska's team couldn't pull that off, but it would just look so natural that it makes sense. I mean, there's so many people out there. Why wouldn't they? Like why wouldn't they use that? And I mean, it's at some level these people like to show that stuff, those kind of things off. It makes sense to put them in a movie then if they're willing to be that role.
Like I'm not the type of person. I don't see myself ever getting even a tattoo. Certainly would never get a piercing. I don't have any problem whatsoever with anybody that decides to do that. Like it doesn't, whatever you want to do is fine by me. I don't care. I think a lot of it's really, really cool looking. So, and I love people's tattoos and stuff. I like when people have really intricate tattoos. I love that stuff. Not personally for me, but if you got that, I mean, more power to you. I think it's really neat.
What about Joe Rody? You know, he's got that big ear thing that droops his ear.
Yeah,
all the way down.
It's not something I would do, but if that's how you want to express yourself, I'm all for it, man. Go for it.
You know what it is, I think, for me? I know this sounds so silly, but at the same time, I mean, I don't have the desire to do it anyway, but I am so, like, constantly changing my mind about things that if I got to, I would be afraid that, like, I'm so it's so hard for me to make doing changes and decisions as it is. Like, I can't imagine ever being, like, such a major change like that, and, like... And then, you know, because what if I decide I don't want to do it anymore, or I want it back and you can't really? So I'm like...
I'm kind of like that with, that's the reason I've never really wanted a tattoo is because I honestly can't think of anything that means enough to me that I would want it permanently on my skin.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard.
Obviously, your kids mean a lot to you, but I don't want pictures of my kids on my skin. I mean, that just seems... I don't know. I just don't want that. But... You know, a lot of tattoos are like to express something about you, or it should be, in my mind, something that when you see that tattoo, that's like, that's you, you know, that's me summed up. That's something I love so much that I want it permanently with me. I can't think of anything in my life like that.
The only thing I could think of that I could, like, I always said this, like, people, I wouldn't get it. You know, I don't think I'm ever a tattoo, but more because I'm like, you know, me and my OCD and phobia of just the fact of getting the tattoo,
right? Yeah,
the fear of hepatitis, and I know it's safe, and I'm not like criticizing anyone that wants a tattoo or gets a tattoo. I know plenty of people that have them. It's not that doesn't like I would never judge anyone for getting one. It's not that. It's just not my personal preference, like you said. But I always did think, I'm like, if I ever were to get one, and I know this may sound silly, but probably the only thing I could think of. You know, because like you said, I wouldn't do a person or anything, no matter what. But I would possibly do something with the New York Rangers, the hockey team, because that's something that, like, is from literally at 2 years old. I mean, people laugh at that because they don't know, but I have pictures to show that, like, I had Ranger gear, and like I was always, and I had one of my favorite toys was this inflatable Ranger hockey player as a kid that I'd always like, and so to me, it was like the Rangers were my thing. It's my favorite team out of any sport. I like, it's like, I mean, I have a million Ranger shirts and everything's, like, so to me, I think that might be the only thing. But again, I don't want any, I would never, like, one of the another reasons is I'm always afraid of, like, that's why I don't get, there was a streak where any player, I would get their name on the jersey, something bad would happen to them. And no, seriously, like, even like players that had like minimal success, like maybe their career to end. So unless they were like well into their career and like at that point nothing really could do it, would I get anything for that with them on it? But I think there might have been a reversal because when I finally got I think because I got it free. I got a free Johan Santana jersey that they gave away at the Met game, and then after I got his jersey, he ended up getting a no-hitter. So after the first no-hitter Met history, so I figured I didn't blow that thing for him because he managed to get that. But perfect example. I think like when I was a kid, I had ended up like someone got me a Mark Gastineau jersey for the Jets, and a couple of years after that, I think he got arrested. Let's see. And then this was the greatest one. So when one year the Jets were going to the playoffs, when they had Vinny Testaverde come back, and he was the Jets got him, and he had that miraculous run. And right before the Denver game, I decided to buy a Vinny Testaverde jersey. Well, then he had interception after interception. Basically, the Jets got ousted one game away from the Super Bowl. So after that, I'm like, okay, there's a curse to what I do to players. So I can no longer purchase I try not to purchase. I did buy a Rick Nash jersey for the Rangers, and he had a couple of decent years, but he didn't do well in the playoffs. And then, unfortunately, he ended up getting concussion after concussion. So the streak may or may not be alive. I don't know. But anyway, long story short, that's probably why even if I decided to ever go ahead with a tattoo, I might still be a little gun shy on getting even the Ranger one because of that reason. So.
Yeah, there's things that I think would be cool. Like I think a Creature from the Black Lagoon tattoo would be super cool.
Oh yeah, that might be the one you would have to get. I think if you got one.
Because that one I don't see a time in my life where I'd never not like the creature from the Black Lagoon. I mean, it's old enough, it's established enough. It's not a fad. It's not like a.
Let's put it this way: I can't see anything with the creature from the Black Lagoon mentioned or visualized where I don't think, oh, Tim would like this.
Yeah.
So just that alone, I associate. You're synonymous to me. Like anytime I see a creature from the Black Lagoon, the first thought is, I wonder if Tim saw this, or do you think, I wonder if Tim would want it. I mean, of course, it's being a good friend and co-host, but also because you're totally synonymous. Yeah. I know that's like one of your favorite things, and like you're always like that'll always be a love of yours. So
yeah, Michael Myers would be a strong runner-up, but that neighbor we have has arguably the coolest Michael Myers tattoo I've ever seen in my life, so I can't compete against that.
Yeah.
I talked about that, right? She's got. I'll mention it again for you guys if you didn't hear it, but she we have a neighbor of the street that came over one day and was talking to us, and I did not realize she had this tattoo. It's Michael Myers, the original 1978 version, basically with holding the knife with the mask and everything, and it's so well done. And he's standing over the house, the Myers house. So you see a full front shot of the Michael Myers house. And below it, what she plans to do is below the house, she's going to have Michael as a child in the clown costume. When they rip the mask off of him. I mean, oh man, this tattoo is insane. I forget what she said her tattoo artist, but she said this particular tattoo artist, she said, is the only one she'll trust to touch her. And I can see why, because this thing is freaking amazing. You know how some tattoos, they look good, but they're like a little bit off. Like the character doesn't look quite like this thing looks spot on, like it came out of a movie poster of Michael Myers. I mean, it's fantastic.
Did you show them my blanket?
No, not yet, but I'll probably get a chance to show it to them. She will freak out. I showed her the Taking Shape book, and she about had a heart attack.
Oh my God, she doesn't have that yet?
I was like, she's like, I did not know this existed. And I was like, yeah, I mean, I'm lucky I got it away from her because she probably would have stolen it. I'm just kidding. Wow. I'm just kidding. But
if you
make her husband,
she needs to get that book, because if she's a Halloween fan, there's nothing better than that book right now.
All right. So anyway, getting back to the movie again. I told you we went on tangents, Brian. The thing is, ours aren't knowledge filled. They're just us randomly talking about stuff in our life.
There's knowledge there, but nothing that either one of us, anyone would care about from us, basically.
Yeah. Oh, nothing that makes your life more educational. Maybe it makes your life more entertaining, though. But that's something, I guess. So Mary, she begins her surgery residency after she performs the surgery on this woman for the doll thing. She kind of reluctantly, but she's making money. I mean, she's making good money from this, so she kind of can't. I mean,
you got to understand. Imagine like your dream is to become a surgeon, and literally the one thing stopping you is because you just can't. You don't have the funds, and and then you're like, she's getting pressure from her stupid teacher that's like kind of an a-hole, and she feels like, I think her cute little Nana, even though we don't see what she looks like, she just sounds like a cute little Nana that you want to like hug, has such like high hopes for her. So she's got a lot of pressure going on. So it's like you can't fault her for taking for once what seems like the easy way to get to her. Right, yeah, and goal. She's getting practice at the same time, so it's kind of a win-win. That's the way she looks at it. She knows it. It's not like some movies there's just like someone will make a decision without any kind of moral compass towards you. She knows, and she doesn't feel comfortable with it in the beginning. And she really is hesitant every time towards the beginning of it, and obviously it takes, which might be the spoiler where we get to later on, a major event that kind of pushes her over the edge. But like in the beginning, she's strictly doing it to get the money and the practice so that she can become the surgeon that she's always wanted to be. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So now we get to the pivotal point in the movie where Mary is kind of changed forever. She is invited to this, basically a networking party with many of the doctors at her hospital, and
she gets there and is drugged, and in a pretty intense scene is raped by her former teacher, which is Dr. Grant. And this one was a kind of a tough scene to watch. Any kind of rape scene is tough to watch.
But I'm not a fan.
No. As Rebecca McKendry would say on the Shockwaves podcast, this film was very rapey.
Yeah.
This one's not super rapey. It's just one rapey, but so she obviously is very distraught by this when she wakes up, and she immediately takes action into her own hands, and we can kind of see where this is going. She hires Billy, who's the strip club owner that we mentioned previously, and he and his some of his friends kidnap Dr. Grant and deliver him to Mary, and I think you can see where this is going. So now she has a unwilling subject for her body modification practice.
Yeah, unwilling to say the least.
Yes. I kind of thought the movie was going to build up. I actually thought like the kidnap and torture of Dr. Grant was going to be the end point of the movie, which is kind of surprising because and it's really only kind of like a halfway type point.
I thought too. I thought that was going to be like almost kind of like once that happened, that was going to be what you'd get for the rest of the movie.
There's going to be like some maybe extended thing of her like tracking him down, finally getting him in her grasp, and then maybe the big reveal would be some final huge body horror she had done to him at the climax. And it's really not that. I mean, she really grabs him and starts her surgery like pretty quick, and you don't see a lot of her actually doing it. It's more kind of implied there. I mean, there are some shots of some of the stuff she's done, but I really did like the scene where she's kind of explaining what she's going to do to him. It was really unsettling because you just imagine yourself in that situation, how horrible that would be. Oh my
God, yeah.
But she's such a great. We'll talk about her in a minute, but she's so great in this role. That scene is just really, really well done. But this is kind of triggers her into going into the extreme body modification stuff full time, and word's starting to get around about her skill, especially because she's using Dr. Grant as her portfolio for some of the stuff she's doing.
Yeah, and also that I guess the Ruby Real Girl, the one that wanted to be a doll, is like kind of gets she's got her own site, but then I guess her site is kind of linked to almost like the dark web.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Elements of it, so it's like she gets out there really quickly.
Yeah. In the meantime, the detectives are kind of on her trail because Dr. Grant has obviously disappeared. Nobody knows where he is, and they know that she was at this party. They know that she was one of his students. So detectives are kind of poking around. At this point, she's too far into the kind of the illegal side of things to, especially after kidnapping and torturing Dr. Grant, that it's one of those things where you've had a good person turned to doing some bad things out of necessity, and she's really not a bad person. You never feel like you're always sympathetic to her character, I should say.
Yeah, I mean, because she doesn't, her, like, again, it goes back to that whole kind of that point I was saying with her moral compass. Her moral compass is kind of, it almost gets turned for her at some point.
Right.
It's like it always starts off with the best intentions, and then she ends up getting pushed and carried away. But I mean, that's traumatic. I mean, she obviously she was raped and violated and never got the proper help she needed, because simultaneously she was kind of already involving in this weird side gig kind of thing, which didn't help. And she wasn't around the most savory of characters.
Yeah.
So.
Now there is an event. I should backtrack a little bit. During all this time where we're learning about how Mary's starting her business and stuff, there's some really entertaining scenes. That's where you have the cameo from the Soska Sisters, which is fantastic. Yeah. Even Joshua happened to wander in during that scene, and he was like,
through this movie?
And he was like, those two girls are really creepy. I was like, yeah, they are, bud. Pause. But there's some great scenes with some of the real people that had body modifications that were a lot of fun to watch. But Mary does an event here where we start to maybe perhaps lose a little bit of sympathy because she kind of goes one step over the line. We can kind of forgive her for torturing Dr. Grant because he did this horrible, vile thing to her. But
man, I wanted to punch him in the face.
Yeah, he was horrible.
Soon as he came on screen, anyway.
But and he was always a dick to her anyway, even in class.
Yeah, like he started off as like you hated him, so you were rooting for something bad to happen to him.
But unfortunately, a security guard comes across Dr. Grant and Mary, and she ends up killing him to hide her secret. And that's where we kind of turn to, oh my gosh, this can't end well, because now she's crossed the line from voluntarily performing surgery on people who want it and who are paying for it, getting revenge on her rapist, all those things we can be okay with. But now she's killed an innocent security guard to cover up herself.
Now she's just murderer.
Yeah, now she's a murderer. The detectives are still circling around. They're getting more and more suspicious. And she's getting more and more concerned that they're going to tie this whole Dr. Grant thing back to her. And now we get to the final end point of the movie. The spouse of our real doll, Ruby, what do they call it? Ruby Real Girl, I think was her name.
Yeah, Ruby. Ruby. Yeah. Oh, yes. Yeah. In this scene, yeah, that's Ruby Real Girl. She's the one that wanted to be a full doll.
So he attacks her. He comes into Mary's apartment and attacks her, stabs her. She is able to fight him off, and she ends up, basically the final scene of the movie, she's trying to sew herself up, which she does, but she ends up bleeding to death. So it's kind of a weird, I'm going to take this opportunity to talk about what I thought of the movie. I loved everything about this movie, possibly up until the ending. I thought the first half was fantastic. The whole thing up through the whole Dr. Grant thing I thought was absolutely great. I loved all of that. I had a little bit of trouble with the ending only because it came so far out of left, to me, came a little bit out of left field. I just wasn't expecting that abrupt an ending. I don't know if you felt the same way, Brian.
I did, because now there was a little bit of tease about the husband.
Yes.
And then they showed his reaction. But yeah, the fact that I didn't think that he would go and blame Mary, when based off the wife that he had, he knew she was doing all this kind of weird surgery stuff. So I don't know why he felt they didn't, I think if they developed him more, we may have been more accepting of the abruptness of the ending. It may not have seemed so abrupt.
Yeah.
But it seemed like, okay, there was this character you literally heard about and saw for maybe a total of 15 seconds, and now he's basically the ending of the film.
Yeah, that's the problem I had with it, because I didn't feel like there was enough foreshadowing for me to be able to, and I'm not saying I needed the movie to be predictable, but I need to know, oh, okay, now I understand now. I can connect back I can connect all the dots from A to Z on how this occurred. And it just felt a little bit kind of, maybe a little bit contrived that, like you said, we see this guy for 15 seconds. Okay. They dropped one breadcrumb, and then all of a sudden now this is the ending.
Yeah. And he had such an influence to her. I don't know. I expected her to have to been more of a dramatic, and now maybe that was their way of trying to surprise you. And it sure did, because I didn't expect it. But maybe it was just trying to point out. I don't want to make try and assume what they were thinking, because like you said, I'd say it a 98% awesome film until, but I did have a little problem with the way they ended it. And maybe they just didn't want to be the obvious end. I don't know. Maybe if I would, because you think about it, if you were to end that film, I would have had it as to where more of a, I don't know. I think I would have had it more involved with something that she caused herself, really. And I don't think she did any, I know, yes, she was responsible for the surgery, but it would have almost had to been maybe one of her direct patients coming after her. I think I would have been okay with more.
in a classic movie like this, which I hate to compare this to Scarface, but I'm going to compare it to Scarface. But you have these movies where the hero basically, or I would say the hero, the main character, they may not be a hero, they may be an anti-hero, but they go through this process of maybe they pulled over their head into something, and they get so wrapped up and they get so involved in something and so in over their head in something that it eventually leads to their own downfall. That's a classic plot line in a number of movies. And then the climactic scene, it was there was something about themselves that caused their own downfall, whether it's deserved or not, And in this one, it just felt a little random. It felt like, I guess, she didn't really deserve it. I mean, I know she killed the security guard, but it wasn't killing the security guard that caused this guy to come after her. It wasn't, nothing about her death was directly because of something she did, quote unquote. I mean, it is because she did the surgery, but again, it's just seems like a little bit of a flimsy thread to hang that on. I don't know. Yeah, I wish, like you said, I think that's exactly right, Brian. I wish she had gotten her quote unquote comeuppance, which we talk about a lot in these horror films. I wish she'd gotten her comeuppance in a way that felt more satisfying.
Yeah, like someone who mattered to us. Like I didn't. This husband. Like I had to sit and think for a second and say, "Oh, was that the husband?" Because you saw him get angry when he saw what she did. But I don't think there was enough connection to me for that. I'd love to hear what everyone else thinks, so let us know. And I know David, he's so good. I love David's emails when he sends it. He does he talks to us about the episodes because we love the interaction and stuff. So I'm interested to see what he thought, because I know this is one of his favorite movies that he watched, and he's really wanting us to see this. So I'm glad we saw it, because I love the movie. So I'm really excited to so David, definitely make sure you email us about this one, because I want to, so we can discuss this.
And I don't want to imply that because of my problem with the ending that I didn't like the movie. I really, really did enjoy the movie, and I thought most of it was fantastic. I loved the body modification thing. Like I said, it brought back all these memories of going to the Curiosities and Oddities Expo. I thought that was fascinating. I love seeing the real people that had those kind of modifications done. I thought the actress was fantastic. I thought she was super good.
Oh my God, yeah. I love
Catherine
Isabel, really. Yeah, she is you don't hear her mentioned enough, I don't think, when it comes to Scream Queens. And she's been in some big, she was, of course, in the Ginger Snap series. She was in Freddy vs. Jason. She was in a couple of other horror movies. She's always good, no matter what role she's kind of where she has to play. I mean, she's played all different types in, the different stereotypes in horror, and I think she just can pull off anything you give her. And she's, and that's a key. I think this movie, what I think it does, and and I thought the same for Rabbit, is that the Soskas just know how to, they really are. I wrote this down, but they are a gift to horror, because they know how to get a good movie put together, but also they get the best out of who's in it.
Yeah.
And they really seem to know how to, when someone's in a role, how to get them. There was a scene that that seems like it might be a silly thing to mention in this movie, but I thought it was a really telling scene, because in this movie you wouldn't expect to see a very, other than the some conversations with Mary and her grandmother, but there's the scene where she's kind of just, you could tell the strain is getting to her with all this, and she just kind of sits down and crashes into the seat, and the kind of that bouncer or assistant of the club owner comes down, and he gives her he says, "I brought you some dinner," and he goes, I wasn't sure what you want, so I brought you a couple things, and he brought a couple of different shakes, he brought her a whole meal, and he just sits down there, and at first she's just so oblivious to it, because she's so just out of it, but then she it kind of hits her. Someone has just given her for the first time in a while, seems to have given her just a true selfless act of kindness. And it's weird to see in the middle of this type of movie, but like, and the guy's just like, and and then you find out why he did it, because he tells his own like story of where, I guess, was it his girlfriend or his sister or something? Someone got attacked, and he said he wished he knew Mary back when he finally found this girl. I found this guy that did this to his loved one, and I'm like, and it seemed like such a weird like scene, but I'm like, but it seemed like it was such an emotional scene, kind of put in there where you're kind of like, wow, it's like, it kind of puts like, it kind of almost puts you back to feeling like this, like that. Wow, Mary is doing a lot of questionable things here, but at the same time, obviously he doesn't know that the security guard got murdered, but she did it to basically continue her cause, so to speak. So I guess it almost kind of even, for lack of a better word, justifies it, but it kind of like brings you as an audience member, I think, brings you back on her side a bit. Mm-hmm. Because you see that she's like, she's kind of almost like inspiring people, like this guy was like, wow, you know what? I wish you were there, because this guy destroyed someone's life, and I wish I had the person to revenge it. So but that to me is like, that the Soska Sisters could put that in there is a good, because you wouldn't expect to find that kind of scene in this movie at that point specifically, because everything was starting to get out of control, and then kind of they like dial it back a little and give you that scene, and then it goes, to the finale. So I don't know, maybe that scene was so good that it could have affected our view of the finale too. I don't know. I it's one I'm going to watch again, because I really did enjoy it, and it's one that I definitely can see being in the monolith someday, because I really love the Soska's work anyway. So I definitely can see myself putting that one in there, and they just know how to do horror, I think, really well.
Yeah, it was really, really good. I believe this is the first Soska Sisters film that I've watched, and I really was impressed. So,
you got to see Rabbit.
Yeah,
you need to watch Rabbit. That one's really, really good. And we should mention really quick Tristan Risk, who played because this is definitely a Civil Gore reference here. The one that she played, the Beatrice. She was also the actress that possessed the Vajiball.
Oh.
in Innsmouth. Nice. So, because I knew the name sounded familiar, and I knew she looked familiar, and like when I looked her up on IMDb, I'm like, oh, that, because obviously she looked different in this movie, but I'm like, that face looks familiar. Where's that from? And then I scrolled through and I'm like, oh my god, that's right, she was Vajiball.
Vajiball goes way back in the Civil Gore history.
Way back. That's like in the definitely the first season, maybe the first like 10 episodes. We got Cody's the expert. She'll know.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna skip the trivia, Brian, since we're kind of running a little long.
Yeah, we got a lot. It's stuff that most of it's. I mean, there's nothing.
I think we mentioned the more interesting tidbits as we were talking. So
yeah, well, one thing I will say is this, and that actually Catherine Isabel, to show why she was so good, she actually went to medical school to research her role. So that shows why. Just another reason why she's awesome.
All right, Brian. So what'd you have for our beer pairing?
So I actually found a beer, and this is it's called Mary.
There you go.
It's from a brewery called Hills Farmstead, which anyone that's really into beer, like your buddy who's like that's like you said he really loves, like he knows every kind of baby. He'll know this brewery, Hills Farmstead. It's out of Greensboro Bend, Vermont. This actually won, I think, at least once, maybe twice, brewery of the year of like all across every brewery, like the brewery of the year. Yeah. And Julie and I got to visit it. We didn't get it on this last Vermont trip because it was closed on the day we were there. But the first trip we went to Vermont, we made sure to stop here because of that. And this was the funniest thing. This was like one of those things. We were literally driving and it was snow because it was winter. I think we went up. Did we go up in December? I went up in December or January. It was early on, definitely in the middle of the winter, though. And so I remember we're driving and we're following the GPS, and it's literally taking us through this like weird area where like it was farmland and it was nothing but like snow. Well, I'm like, and Julie and I look at each other. I'm like, wait, this can't be right. This has got to be like Google Maps screwing up again, and taking us in the wrong place. And we're looking at the thing, and it's like 0.6 miles away, 0.5 miles away, and we're looking nothing but farmland. Not even a car's in sight. Well, we kind of come around over this hill, and then we see this big structure of like a building, but like still low, like farm type of building kind of thing. But like it's like, not like it's a skyscraper, but a big area with about 100 cars lined up around. So we're like, oh, okay, this might be the right way. We get in. There are like, first of all, this is unlike any brewery I've ever been to. So we get online. We're thinking like you can get online, get a couple of tasters. Well, people are literally on these lines, like 6 lines. I felt like I was at the DMV. Like there were lines up to where the registers were at. Literally, people had 5, 6 growlers in their hands. And so you don't get like the usual flight like at normal breweries. You can order like 3 samples, I think, at a time or something. But most people just go in there, and literally as we were looking up, we were online, there were about 4 people ahead of us. 4 different beers tapped out and were replaced just as fast with another one. So if you get your hands on a Hill Farmstead, pretty much everyone we tried was pretty solid. They get distributed around us quite frequently, at least lately. So there's a bunch of ones. One of the ones that seems to show up a lot is Edward. But they make a bunch of different beers, really good. They're really high quality. I mean, pretty much Vermont is like the beer mecca. Vermont beer, Vermont, Maine, New Hampshire, all those, they're just amazing. So, but yeah, so that's by Hill Farmstead. It's only 4.75%, and this one, it's funny because I just said Edward, so it says Mary was Edward's mother and our great grandmother. An unfiltered and naturally carbonated German-style Pilsner brewed with our well water, German Pilsner malt, our favorite German hops, and a classic German lager yeast. So, yeah, so all their names are funny like that. They're usually like names of people, and obviously in this one, this was like the brewer's grandmother. So, but yeah, so definitely if you were up in the Vermont area and you're allowed, I mean, like I know I've bragged about Vermont. I mean, obviously I think Alchemist still is my favorite brewery on the planet. That's one you have to hit, but I think right next to it is Hills Farmstead is one you need to experience just because it's so unique and so and such high quality beer.
It sounds amazing. Yeah. All right. So our triple threat last week, we were looking for an actor or actress, and we were looking for Miss Abigail Breslin.
Yes, thanks. Shout out to Cone for giving us the suggestion.
That's a great one. Clue number 1: I've had roles in films where I fought zombies, and also one where I became one. She starred as Little Rock in Zombieland, of course, and Zombieland Double Tap, where fighting off zombies were just a part of life. However, she also starred in Maggie as the title character who tragically became a zombie over the course of the film. I actually liked Maggie. I actually enjoyed it.
I loved Maggie. I actually enjoyed that. That was like a tour de force by Arnold Schwarzenegger in a dramatic role, where it was not like, oh my God, he's trying to be dramatic. He literally pulled it off well, I thought. That's in the Monolith, that movie, too. I love that movie. And actually, after I did this trivia, I'm like, I gotta watch that again.
Arnold Schwarzenegger,
I really like that movie.
People, they make fun of him. And of course, he just had those one-liner roles in all the movies back in the 80s and 90s. But like even in the last Terminator movie, he was so good. He was really, really good.
Of course, now he's lost his mind in the quarantine and talks to llamas or whatever he's got. What are those? But no, I love those. That's one of the highlights of the quarantine. Early highlights.
He's underrated as an actor. I think he sometimes gets a bad rap.
I love Arnold Schwarzenegger.
All right, clue number 2. My first acting performance was in an ad for a well-known store, which sadly is essentially defunct, and that was, of course, Toys R Us. Abigail was featured with Ashley Tisdale in a 1999 Toys R Us commercial.
Yeah, I actually kind of vaguely remember that when they showed a still from it when I was doing research.
This one was kind of the neatest clue in here, I thought. I seem to co-star in films with actors who played DC movie villains. So let's run those down. She starred with Arnold Schwarzenegger in Maggie, and of course Arnold Schwarzenegger played Mr. Freeze in Batman and Robin.
Nobody's putting me in the cooler. Sorry, I have to say
Time to kick some ice. Jesse Eisenberg in the Zombieland movies, who played Lex Luthor in Batman vs. Superman. Aaron Eckhart in No Reservations, who played Harvey Dent / Two-Face in The Dark Knight. And Joaquin Phoenix in Signs, who of course played the Joker in The Joker. So she has a weird knack of co-starring with DC movie villains. Interesting.
Yeah, that's that weird. And technically, so there was one that she was with in Suicide Squad, right? She played with Viola Davis's character. Yeah. She was in a movie with her in it, and so that one I was like, that was the one I was talking to Julie with, because I'm like, you could look at that as sort of a villain, but she was really, she played what was she, a district attorney or something. So she wasn't a bad character per se. She was just an unsavory character, so to speak. She had some ulterior motives that were not great, but that's why I did not include her in that.
Not what you would consider a true movie villain type,
Right. Not like the other ones,
All right, so this week we are looking for another actor or actress. Here are your clues, so listen carefully. Clue number 1. One of my most known roles was of a cook, but that fact was minor in comparison to what my character went on to do. Clue number 2. I have a 1-degree separation to Kevin Bacon, yet I never actually appeared in a scene with him. And clue number 3, my last role was the title character in a movie based on an old Tennessee legend.
I think this one's gettable, but it's tricky. I think I made it tricky enough.
Yeah, I think this one's
that it may be good.
This one's fairly challenging, I think, actually.
Yeah, no, it's challenging, but I think it definitely for big horror fans, I think they'll get it. But I think I did a nice little some deceptive twists to it, I think.
I like that one.
I thought I worded this one pretty good, if I do say so myself.
This is a good one. All right, so lastly is our Zobmondo of the week.
Yes. Okay, so Tim, I got a doozy for you on this one.
Good.
Are you ready? Would you rather have to hold a 1-inch roach in your mouth unharmed for 5 minutes, or have to lie motionless on a termite nest for 10 minutes?
Okay, this one's easy to me. This one's easy. I would lie motionless on the termite nest.
I think I would have to agree. I cannot put a roach in my mouth.
I do not like roaches. I don't like creepy crawly things.
Yeah.
But termites to me are basically ants. And I'm not scared of ants at all. I mean, I don't like them. I don't like them biting me, obviously. I would, but I like termites don't freak me out at all. So I think I could. It wouldn't be comfortable for me by any stretch of the imagination. But there's no way I'm putting a roach in my mouth. I get freaked out when I see a roach anywhere near my house. So there's no way I would put one in my mouth.
Yeah, and it's funny. There's always a story that I used to have my mom tell me, even though it made me laugh and creeped out at the same time, that one of her friends accidentally ate a roach while at a thing. So it's like, and so I always, and I can still picture this woman and the story the way my mom told it. But I think I'd have the hardest problem is lying motionless. I would do it, but I mean, as long as it's not like 100% motionless, like if I could just a little bit slightly, I'm sure there's some leeway there. Because I remember my half-hour MRI took an hour and 15 minutes because I couldn't sit still. But yeah, so and as usual, Zobmondo has his little facts. So this is a weird one the way they gave this. So bear with me on this one. It says, first things first. 1. Is this a cockroach or a joint roach? 2, is a rock and roll band involved? 3, do you like cats? And 4, how do you feel about farting? So, and the answers, it says 1, if it's a joint roach, this is a no-brainer. 2, termites chew at twice their usual speed when listening to rock music.
Okay.
So I guess you have to be really quiet. 3, a cockroach spends more time cleansing itself than cleaning itself than a cat does. That still does not make me want to put it in my mouth, though. And then 4, termites have micro creatures in their stomachs to help them digest wood. Because these little stomach creatures produce a lot of methane, termites fart like crazy.
Huh, interesting.
I got news for you. I might fart like crazy out of nerves if I was stopped by a termite's nest anyway, so I dare them to out-fart me in that case, I tell you.
All right, guys. Well, that was a fun episode. I really like that episode. So
Yeah, that was a good one. Thank you, of course, to David for pushing us to do that one, because I'm glad, because it was a movie that I've always wanted to see, and I'm finally glad we got to see it.
So if you guys have any other suggestions for movies you'd like for us to cover, send them in to our Gmail account at civilgorepodcast@gmail.com, or hit us up on Facebook, Instagram, now TikTok, and Twitter. Yeah. You can just find us, look for Civil Gore Podcast. We're basically that on every platform, so you'll be able to find us pretty easily. And
follow the bearded Tim.
Follow the bearded Tim. It's not going anywhere for a while yet, I guess, because I am not. I think May 22nd, which is next week, they're going to reevaluate whether we can go back to work or not. So we don't know. So yeah,
we'll see.
Don't know what movie we're doing next week, but we'll come up with something. Maybe we'll do The Lodge. I don't know. Yeah.
Maybe we might have to, because I need to talk to you about that.
All right, guys. So we'll see you back here next week. Take care. Stay safe. And remember... I was trying to come up with a good one with starring body modification, but I just can't. I don't want to tell you not to go get a piercing. If you want a piercing or a horn in your head or your tongue split, I don't want to tell you not to do that.
Yeah, who are we to say? Then I'll finish it off with just saying beware of farting
termites. There you go. Later, guys.